It's the Mr. Camilleri Show. It's the Mr. Camilleri Show. Oh, it's the Mr. Camilleri, Mr. Camilleri, Mr. Camilleri Show. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to episode 4 of the Mr. Camilleri Show. We are coming to you live from the classroom, away from my classroom, aka my house. Welcome to my house. Episode 4 will focus on the concept of distributive property, and we are kicking things off, as usual, with the learning target of the day. Let's get into this. The learning target of the day for Monday, March 21st is I can use distributive property to simplify numerical expressions. Success criteria. Use distributive property to correctly simplify at least 10 numerical expressions. Now, if you have no idea what that means right now, you are not alone, and it is okay. Stay tuned for the breakdown as I break down every step of how to do each of these problems. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the breakdown for distributive property is underway. So basically, when we're dealing with numerical expressions involving distributive property, the numbers or letters inside the parentheses are the property of the number outside the parentheses. All right, that's how you need to think of it. Whenever you see numbers or letters inside of parentheses, just know that that means to multiply. You're multiplying 5 times c, and then you're multiplying 5 times 7. So as I stated, the first step in solving a distributive property problem is to multiply the number outside the parentheses and the letter inside the parentheses. And I'm going to demonstrate that first step right now. So we need to multiply 5 times c. Now we do not know what the numerical value of c is. So multiplying 5 times c, all that really means is we're going to write the number 5 and we're going to put the letter c next to it. So 5 times c equals 5c. Whatever the letter is inside the parentheses, you're just going to write it next to the number outside the parentheses, and you got the first step. So step 2, keep the sign the same. Whatever the sign is inside the parentheses, we're going to keep it the same. 5 times c plus 7. So since the sign within the parentheses for this problem is a plus sign, we're going to keep that the same. We're going to add a plus sign down here. All right. So now we are on the final step of the problem. And the final step, I'm going to read it to you all. Multiply the number outside the parentheses by the number inside the parentheses. Alright, so for this distributive property problem, the problem is 5 times c plus 7. So we already multiplied the letter 5c plus. So the very last step is we have to multiply 5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. And we have our final answer. The product of 5 and c plus 7 equals 5c plus 35. Now again, the learning target, the goal was to simplify the numerical expression. We're not going to have an exact answer and get the problem down to a final number because we do not have the value of c. We don't know what the numerical value of the letter c is. So this is as far as we can go as far as simplifying the expression. So this will be our final answer. I'm confident that these problems will be very easy for students with strong multiplication fluency. If you're unsure of the multiplication, if you're not able to do the multiplication in your head, I have a strategy that will make figuring out the multiplication much easier. So I'm going to share that with you next. Stay tuned. Okay, so in the final step of this problem, you had to multiply 5 times 7. If you don't know that off the top of your head, here's an easy strategy to do that. 5 times 7, you can think of that as 5 groups of 7. So I'm going to draw 5 circles. and then we're going to put 7 X's in each of those circles. What I would recommend doing, if the X's, so the X's don't bunch up, is do a row of 4 and do a row of 3. Alright, so now I have 5 groups of 7, and I can find out the answer of what 5 times 7 is by finding the total number of X's. Now the quick way to do that is to count by 7s. The long way to do that is to count every single X. But both strategies will get you the correct answer. Seven, 14, 21, 28, 35. So that's the shorter way to go about it, to just count by 7s. Now the long way, counting each of the 7 X's in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the first group of 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's the second group of 7. Third group now. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Third group. Now group 4. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Final group. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 5 times 7 equals 35. Now as you can see, both ways of counting got me the correct answer, but it's a lot easier if you're able to skip count. If you are fluent with your multiplication, with your skip counting, and you're able to just count by 7s, it's a lot quicker, and there's less risk of you miscounting. But either way will get you the right answer. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to do a second example problem. So remember, the letters and numbers inside the parentheses are the property of the number outside the parentheses. When you see letters and numbers in parentheses, that means to multiply. We're going to multiply the number outside the parentheses by the letters and numbers inside the parentheses. So step 1, multiply the number outside the parentheses and the letter inside the parentheses. So first step, we're going to multiply 10 times the letter A. Now again, since we do not know what the numerical value is of the letter A, all we have to do is write the number 10 and put A next to it. 10 times A equals 10A. So now for step 2, keep the sign the same. Whether the sign is a plus or minus sign, whatever the sign is inside the parentheses, we keep it the same during distributive property problems. Since this is a subtraction sign, the sign in this problem is a subtraction, we're going to add a minus sign here. It's 10A minus. And now we're going to move on to step 3. So now the final step in the problem is to multiply the number outside the parentheses by the number inside the parentheses. So in this problem, the number outside the parentheses is 10, and the number inside the parentheses is 2. So we're going to multiply 10 times 2. So 10 times 2 equals 20. And our answer is 10A minus 20. Now again, if you're not able to do the multiplication in your head, I'm going to go over the strategy for that again, just as a refresher. Alright, so multiplying 10 times 2. If If you have difficulty doing that in your head, think of it as two groups of 10. You could either draw 10 circles and put 2 X's in each circle, or you can make 2 big circles and draw 10 X's in each circle. I would draw 2 big circles and draw the 10 X's because that would be the quickest way to go about it. So I'm going to draw 2 big circles. Excuse my sloppy handwriting here. Now I'm going to make 10 X's in each circle. What I would recommend doing so the X's don't bunch up, make them in rows of 5. Alright, so I have one group of 10. I have 2 groups of 10. So to find the answer to 10 times 2, we would count the total number of X's. A quick way to do that is just to count by tens. 10, 20. 10 times 2 equals 20. And then the long way to do that would be to count every single X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, we're done counting the first group. We have 10 X's so far. Second group now. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Alright, so we have 20 total X's. Again, both ways of counting will get you the right answer, but I would definitely recommend skip counting. That is the quickest, most efficient way. There's also less of a risk of miscounting, but either way will get you the right answer. To conclude our answer to demonstration problem number 2, find the product of 10 and a minus 2. The product of 10 and a minus 2 would be 10a minus 20. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for episode 4 of the Mr. Camilleri Show. Work hard, stay focused, and do not get discouraged. Never give up. If you have difficulty understanding these problems after the first watch, I would suggest rewinding the video, watching my modeling of the 2 problems a second time, a third time. You can rewind the video and rewatch it as many times as you need. Pause it in between steps. Try your best, and eventually it'll come. All right. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.